Welcome to a short tutorial on how to display SharePoint list data in a SharePoint framework app using the old JavaScript and REST API way. This is using the old JavaScript in the latest SharePoint framework app part. We have some list of data in a fruits list and we showcase that data in our SharePoint framework app part as shown here. We have a list of fruits and we'll just write some code which will retrieve the items from the fruits list and display that in a table format along with the location as Washington. Why I am using the old school or the old way of using JavaScript? Because JavaScript stands the test of time. In spite of many frameworks coming and going like jQuery, Vue, Angular, Knockout, React, and many other frameworks, JavaScript has stood the test of time and it will not go away. It is much more direct and keeping the performance in mind, JavaScript is the best. And there is no need for learning extra languages like Vue, Angular, or Knockout, or React, or TypeScript. And it's my personal choice. Of course, I do like to explore the latest. And after some analysis, I still do feel that JavaScript is the best. JavaScript is a very powerful way to create many powerful SpFX apps with a simple HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You don't need to break your head learning TypeScript and learning React or any other framework, and you can focus on your idea. Suppose you have a big idea and you just want to implement that with simple HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Just do that in a simple HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then you can use SharePoint to display the SharePoint data in your own way using the REST API. It's all using your own imagination. This tutorial is extremely powerful for you to create very nice SPFX apps and sell them in the marketplace also and get money. And another reason why I have made this tutorial is because it's very easy to migrate existing content editor web part or script editor solutions to SPFX solutions. Thanks to Julie Turner, SP Junkies, SharePoint Junkies, and many other experts, Waldex, and many other experts in SharePoint framework team. Read their thoughts too, and you decide which is the best way. Now, we have decided that we'll use a simple HTML, CSS, JavaScript and do that in the SharePoint framework. Now, how we will do that? So far, I had talked to you on how to add a JavaScript or how to add a CSS, reference that by adding an entry in config.json file and make the changes to the TS file, the web part render method and display your data. In case you're migrating existing code, the minor change will be to replace the underscore sp page context.web absolute URL with this.context.page context.web.absolute URL. And coming to the REST code, I'm going to just showcase the HTML, XML, HTTP request code. We'll be reading the results from the URL and display the results in a table format. We have a list of data in the fruits and we'll see the results in the SharePoint framework SPFX app part in a table. So what is a REST URL? All the SharePoint REST URL begins with underscore API/web and we will be looking at the list URL list/get by title. Give the list name, in this case it is fruits, and now I'm just selecting the title column. So based on your requirement or needs, just construct the URL. It can be a complex URL to select the top 5 items, or having a filter option, or having a starts with query or substring query. So there are various queries. So here we are just selecting a simple REST query, and your job will be to just think of the REST URL, that is selecting the sub data and the number of columns you need, number of items. Do not try to select all the data. Have a need which will showcase only as minute data, and most of the time it might be a table or a list item. You can use either the table HTML or the UI or ordered list and display it according to your needs. So coming to the project files, you create your project using yo@Microsoft/SharePoint. Once it's created, use code dot and open that in Visual Studio Code. What are the files that you will be making the changes? You will be making changes to config.json. After you create a CSS and the JS file, if you are migrating the existing code, copy paste that within this webpaths and your name folder, and we will be making changes to the TS file, that is the here it is thangulistdata webpath.ts. Coming to the CSS, I have a minor CSS where I'm just trying to make my table greenish. I love green, so my theme mostly is green. So I'm just trying to give a nice border to the table and making it centered. So it's a very simple CSS. Based on your needs, you can make your CSS file. Then I can reference the jQuery or other Bootstrap or any other external scripts in the config.json. So here, though I'm not going to use jQuery, in case you're planning to use jQuery or Bootstrap, just in the external section, give the name as Bootstrap or jQuery, give the path of the CDN path, then give the global name, and within the TS, you will be importing the file using require and the particular file name. Coming to the JavaScript or custom script, I'm just giving the name as Tangu script. I've put the JS file in source web paths, giving the path here and the name as Tangu script. Looking at the JavaScript code. So in the JavaScript code, we are going to create a new XML HTTP request. I am going to read the REST data. So if you already know REST, we have 4 types of requests: get, post, put, delete. We are just focusing on displaying the data for our app, and we get the connection and we call the data results using XML HTTP request open function, and we have to set the request header as accept application JSON OData verbose, and once it is loaded, we'll call the success function, and then we send and return the request. And coming to the display, we are going to display the data using the display function. I'm just having a table element, and within the table element, I'm just going to read all the response and display that using TRTD. Based on your needs, you can do your own processing. It can be a simple list item or a complex table based on your needs. So coming to the main REST function, so we pass the API link here, and the site URL I'm getting from the page context variable, and then I'm going to call the read Tangu, or the function which calls the XML HTTP request using callback, and we'll get the response. It might be it might be mostly a JSON response, so we'll pass that and using json.parse, and if we get the results are returned as data.d.results, and we call the display function which will display the results in a table. Coming to the TS, we have the imports to the required files like CSS, jQuery and the JavaScript, and in the render method I am defining the HTML part. So for example, here I'm just trying to have a button which will call the do rest Tangu of the this.context.page.context.web.absolute URL, and I'm just having the table with ID get data table, which will get the results from the fruits list and display that. So let's go to the demo. So first you go to your SharePoint list and make sure the list exists. So we have the fruits list, we have apple, orange, mango, banana, and then you construct the URL from here itself. So we'll just say _API /web /get by title of fruits, and then we'll just call $select equal to title. So I missed the word list. So make sure you construct the URL properly and test that. So if it's successful, you'll get the output. So again, I missed the items. Let me just put the items. So now you've got the 4 items. So let's just go ahead and look at our script editor way of doing that. So suppose you have an application where you have a site page, and we have done that using our script editor with simple JavaScript. So it might be a simple JavaScript where I'm clicking the button and the list data is displayed. So I'm editing the web part. So this is the code where I have some style, and I have the table, get data table, and within the do rest Tangu, I'm using sp page context info.webAbsolute URL. And in case we are migrating this to our SpFx, this will change. Apart from that, the rest of the code will remain the same. Over here, we are just trying to read the results using XML HTTP request, and I'm just trying to display the data in a table format. Now we'll open our tangu.css and tangu.js. I've already created the web part. So over here I have the let's look at the config.json. So in the config.json I am adding the reference to Tangu script jQuery, and then I have the tangu.js which has the code which we got from that script editor. Only thing, I have to change the site URL. I'm going to pass that as a parameter. And next, CSS also is a very minute code. I've copy paste the CSS code from the style content. And in the webpart.ts, next I have to import the tangu.css and then call the Tangu script. So here jQuery is not needed. In case you want to export Bootstrap and all, you can do that similarly. Next, in the render method, I remove the existing code and I just type in my HTML content. And over here, I'm just typing C list items, and I'm having a button called btn Tangu rest, where on clicking, I'm calling do rest Tangu. I'm passing the value of this.context.page.context.web.absolute URL, and I'm having a table with ID get data table, which will be replaced in the JS code, which will actually get the data from the fruits list and display that in a nice table format. After your code is done, do gulp serve, and the code is actually running, and I'm directly going to the SharePoint site. So it has so I'll remove this web part and I'll add this again. When I click this, the fruits list is displayed with the location which I typed. And as a quick summary, we just displayed the SharePoint list data in SpFx app part by adding a CSS, JS, and changing the sp context.web.absolute URL to the page context.web.absolute URL. And remaining code remains the same, where we are using the XML HTTP request and reading the results and displaying the results in a table. So this is extremely powerful, very simple, where you can use your existing XML HTTP request and HTML, CSS, JavaScript code to create stunning SharePoint framework apps. Hope you enjoyed coding in SharePoint framework apps too using REST API. Thank you so much. If you have any queries, send an email to spthangu@gmail.com or visit my website for other self-paced training. Take care. Bye-bye.